while. It's been a while. I rejoice. This strong week to be able to celebrate the proclaim of God's Word. Now today the sermon's a little bit different because ordinarily there's a lot of proclamation of the gospel of God's love, but today it's a little bit more about praxis, a little bit more about how we live our lives. And the truth of the matter is, we as 21st century Christians in this part of the world need to hear that. We need to hear that. We need to hear what Jesus has to say to us this day. In the gospel reading for today, the disciples have just come back to Jesus after being gone on a mission trip. They went on a mission trip 2 by 2, and they were out preaching and healing and sharing the gospel. And they had been out just racing around, doing all kinds of stuff in ministry, and were all full of themselves and excited and tired. And they came back to Jesus, and they were kind of just spilled all this stuff out. And Jesus says, "Whoa, slow down. Slow down. We need to relax a little. We need to go off together and be present and fellowship with one another and recharge. Slow down. Slow down. Put that busyness aside for a little bit." Well, he does that. It's wonderful that he does that. I tell you, in the past 7 months, I have had a very interesting shift in my perspective about what busyness and time and healing and downtime, what all that means in our lives. And it really is important for us to slow down. Really is important for us to slow down, because in slowing down, we can interact with those around us. In slowing down, we have the opportunity to see how ministry happens in our lives. Well, even in the midst of those times when we're slowing down, and Jesus does it right here in this particular passage, because he's told the disciples to slow down, but then he sees the crowd hurrying and rushing. And that's in the text, it says 2 times. One place it says the crowd hurried to meet him. The other place it said the crowd rushed to meet him. So the crowd was all stirred up. And Jesus saw that they were like sheep without a shepherd. He had compassion on them. And he took time to try to help them to slow down too. He had compassion on them. It's really important for us to slow down from our rush, because then we can understand those persons that we encounter who can be a blessing to us. When we're wrapped up in the hurry, and even when we're slowing down, we need to be alert to that in that time. To illustrate that, there's a story about a Princeton Seminary professor who did a project with 15 of his students. And he broke them up into 3 groups of 5 people. And what he did was he gave them all a project that they had to go from where they were at the seminary over to the library, which was all the way across campus. And the first group of 5, he sent, and he said, "You have 15 minutes to accomplish your task." And they charged it off. And then the second group, after about 10 minutes or so, he sent them off and said, "All right, you have 45 minutes to accomplish your task." So they went off. And the third group, after a little bit, he sent them off and said, "You have 3 hours to accomplish your task." Well, what they didn't know was that he had also enlisted the help of 3 drama students. And one of the drama students, about a third of the way to the library, was sitting down on the grass, holding his head and moaning. And then about halfway there was another drama student who was lying in the grass as though he were unconscious. And then finally, on the steps of the library, there was another drama student who was having a seizure. Okay? So all of these folks went from the seminary to the library. Well, the first group of 5, nobody stopped. Nobody stopped for any of these 3 people in distress. The second group of 5, 2 people stopped for 1 person. In the third group of 5, at 3 hours. They all stopped more than once to help those people along the way. And that just illustrates in the midst of our hurt, even in the midst of our slowing down, we need to be sensitive to those who can bless us. We need to resist hurrying by those who will make our lives a rich blessing. Now, Jesus was overcome with compassion by the crowds. He probably needed some rest too. Jesus was always third class. Let me tell you what that means. Let me tell you what that means. First, second, and third class came to light in the age of the stagecoach. Okay? And first, second, and third class, as long as we were running along on a flat, even road, that was fine. Everybody was just the same. When they came to a hill, the first class people stayed in the coach. Second class people got out and walked. The third class people pushed. So in our lives, we have to recognize that we are called to be that one who is always there to help out regardless. We are, now that sounds weird to say, we're third class people. But the truth is we are. The truth is we are. We are called to push, to push. Now the second point is to remember that saving time is not making time. Okay? In our 21st century world, I would guess that 95% of you have a computer, probably desktop, probably a laptop, probably a smartphone, maybe a tablet, probably a GPS. Now there's some that are not tech savvy and may not have those. But the truth is, most of us are in that technological world. And the truth is, all of these devices are to save us so much time. So much time. You know, we have connectivity wherever we are. We're always connected. I would bet that at least half of you could be on the internet within 30 seconds. Right? Yep. I tell you something happened to me last week. I couldn't get online with my Kindle. I spent 30 minutes trying to figure out how to get online with my Kindle, and I couldn't, so I went over to the computer and I did morning prayer on the computer instead of going and getting my prayer. How often do we leave home and forget our phone and turn around in fear because we left our phone? GPS is becoming a thing that is absolute necessity. I would bet that Jim Bullen and Bob Foote are the only two people that have fold-up maps in their glove compartment. I guarantee you Bob Foote's got it. Oh, Sandy Holmes, okay. Well, all right. Well, it ain't very many folks that have fold-up maps. Most of us take out our phone, or we have a separate GPS that is so connected to the satellite. We've been to the Cleveland Clinic about 15 times. Every time we start off, we hit that button to go to the Cleveland Clinic. We say it's because it gives us real-time traffic reports, but we don't want to get lost. Well, the problem is we have all these things to help us save time. Why is it that we have so little time for the things that really matter? Just a laughable thing in the 1960s. They said in 50 years, the work week would be shortened to at least 4 days. People would be retiring early because they didn't have enough to do. Well, the only reason I can see that people are working 4 days is because they've been cut back because of budget issues. The truth of the matter is, we have to remember that saving time is not making time. A story about two men who decided to have a wood chopping contest. And the first guy, they started at the same time. The first guy chopping, and he took a little 10-minute lunch break, chopping, all day long. But every time he looked over, the other guy was sitting down resting. He couldn't understand it.